I'm Bob Hutchison, and I am currently the chairperson for Christian Appalachia Project, and I've been affiliated with this group for a little bit over 30 years now as a board member. And prior to that, I did some odds and ends and worked with Father Biding back in the day when he was the main driver with Christian Appalachia Project. What led me to CAP was Father Biding. As a customer of my business years ago is how I met Father Biding, and he was so kind and gentle, and he had asked me to visit with him and some of his programs, and he would share more of what he did, and he had asked me to help him on a project, which was a ice cream social and a car show at a school that he was trying to bring some life to in Johnson County, Our Lady of the Mountains. And that was the beginning part of myself getting to know CAP and getting to know what Father Biding's desires were and his vision. And he repeated it over and over that these people and people of Appalachia need some help, need some guidance. And that's what got me captivated. But Father Biding is quite the salesperson. I don't know if it was an ask or a directive, but he said, "Bob, would you like to be part of CAP? I see what you do with the community, with your businesses and your outreach. So would you mind being on our board?" And I viewed that as probably one of my most appreciative honors that I could have had, was to be asked by the founder to be on his board for the betterment of CAP. If he was in the business world, I think he would have been a CEO of GE or a large company. And if he'd been in politics, no doubt in my mind, he'd have been the president of the United States. And if he was involved with the mafia, he would have been the godfather. But he was so persuasive and so soft and gentle when he would talk to groups or individuals. But on the other hand, he could be so firm. And to see him in action with groups, whether it was donors or individuals in need, he could go back and forth. I had the opportunity to drive him one time to a function, and I was just amazed that he could go in and share the story of CAP and have huge commitments from this body of donors that were potential donors, but by the time we left, they were all donors. Working with Father Biding, somewhat with Mountain Christian Academy, which is an institution that's no longer in place, but trying to get the school started, get it up and running. There were some issues sometimes with the power company, utility company, and he kind of took the approach, well, I've asked, but now I'm just going to do what needs to be done and ask for forgiveness later. And he did it. And he was just a unique individual. I've not met anybody quite like him since. Things were no different then than they are now with challenges with CAP. It's just that it's on a much grander scale. Where we're at today, in my opinion, was the vision that Father Biding had 30 years ago. And to wonder what his vision would be today, 30 years down the road. But it was still, he was a leader, but he was one who would state what his heart felt was and what his mind was, even when there was conflict or dissension from the board. But I will say he usually got his way. And he was usually right. If somebody's 80% right, most of the time, I'll take that. And that's where he fell. As a chairperson now, in that role, the things I've taken is to listen. I don't care if it's a board member, if it's a donor, if it's somebody in the field, a volunteer. We, as a board, we have to listen. Father Biding always listened. That's what I felt. And if there was disagreement, then he would state his opinion. But I think the thing that I take away with that I utilize today is to listen to anybody and everybody, because somebody's always got a better idea. And listening is a key factor, but I find it most helpful when I'm in a program, whether it's rebuilding a porch, putting a new roof on, I get satisfaction out of talking to the people who are living there and listening to what their true needs are. Even yesterday, we were in Lee County at the Lee County Elementary School trying to create some Christmas cheer with the kids. So we partnered up with the Marines Toys for Tots, and every child in that school went home that day with a gift. But going to the school and seeing the children, the look in their eyes, the smile on their faces, if that doesn't get somebody warmed up and teary-eyed, it's awesome. And when you can hear a child getting his gift, walking away, and he's got a bag of 3 or 4 items in it, and he says, and I was told I wasn't going to have Christmas this year. It melted me. And there's still a need, not only with gifts. I overheard one child say that when I talk to Santa, I can't really tell him what I want. And the other girl says, why not? Why not? And she says, well, people usually ask for things. I want my teeth fixed. And it was obvious that hygiene was not important in that home. And it crushes you that we have a need still at this day and age for education of oral hygiene, hygiene in general, and professional assistance to get these people help that need the care for their teeth, for their eyes. And that's one of the things that touch on me with kids in need, especially when you hear that they said I wouldn't have a Christmas. They said I wasn't getting anything. I don't know who they were, but that boy has got some stuff now. And he might not remember it in 10 years, but I think he will. I think those are things that CAP works on that keeps people coming back. We don't know. Maybe that child will be a volunteer in 10 years or an employee in 15. Never know the impact that CAP, Christian Appalachian Project, will have on a child, whether it's at summer camp, at school, school meals, backpack program. It's just across the board. The CAP has a huge impact on these children. Mike Sanders was a leader of CAP back in the, not so much early, it's been 25 years ago or so, but Mike was our leader. Mike Sanders is one of my favorite. I have a lot of favorites, but some I like better than others, and Mike Sanders is a great guy. He was a great guy. Unfortunately, he passed, but he was boots on the ground every day, boots on the ground with every project, and I was always amazed on how he covered as much ground as he did. He was like Father Biden. You never knew when he was going to pop up or where he was going to pop up. Mike was not afraid to turn a wrench, help get a CAP car running, get it on the road again. He was there. He was the man, and he was the leader because he led by example on everything, and he'd never ask a volunteer, never ask a staff member to do what he has not done or what he wouldn't do. And if he saw somebody was struggling with a task, he'd jump right in. Mike was great. Times have changed since then. Mike was probably one of the best program people we had. Today we have Guy Adams, who is great at getting the CAP word and furthering Father Biting's vision. And Guy has brought strategic planning into place where we're pretty much structured. And moving mountains was one that Guy had made possible. The board went along with it, and we were able to raise a lot of money and a lot of awareness for a Christian Appalachian Project. And that awareness and through that fundraising was able to get CAP to another level to further their outreach. Most recently, our capital campaign of Rise and Shine that Guy Adams had brought to the table. Once again, he got everybody involved. And we looked at Rise and Shine. It got the support of the board. It's got the support of everybody affiliated with Christian Appalachian Project. And we just, looking at our Rise and Shine campaign as our most successful campaign ever. And the Rise and Shine is going to enable CAP to expand even further their programs, their outreach, and to be more of a force with those individuals that are in need. So I'm proud to be part of CAP for those reasons as well. I tell you what I think has stayed the same is that CAP has held true to what they do, what they're meant to do. Give people hope, try to transform their lives, and share love through Jesus Christ and his teachings. I think that's where we're at. That has not changed from the first day I've got involved with CAP to where we're at right now. What has significantly changed is CAP's ability, Christian Appalachian Project's ability to do so much more than what they were able to do then with a broader base from New York to Georgia and the Appalachia region. We've touched all 13 states of Appalachia with some type of program, whether it be boots on the ground or gifting kinds. We've touched all 13 states. Most recently in North Carolina with the hurricane. Our response team was there. Response team was helping. And what other groups from Appalachia were able to do that? When we went to Hurricane Katrina, that was boots on the ground. I had the opportunity to go there for 5-6 days, and maybe it was longer than that, but the opportunity to go there and see the disaster that these people had. CAP left a positive impression in Mississippi with some of the things that we were able to do. CAP has had an impact, and those are some of the things that we have seen change from then till now, that the outreach is much further and much stronger than we could have done 30 years ago. Not many groups and organizations such as CAP exist much longer than 60 years. Christian Appalachian Project, I think what it means to me is to be a part of that is, it's overwhelming to see everything that's happened and the impact that they have. If I sit and think about it, one hand I could get the biggest smile. On the other hand, I could probably sit and get a tear or two, because if you look at everything CAP's been involved with, where they're at today, and the future is as bright as the past has been. It's just my heart overflows with the love for Christian Appalachian Project and Appalachia. I think CAP is pretty well situated to handle anything going forward. Father Biding did an excellent job laying the foundation. And we all know if you've got a solid foundation and you build on that foundation, the sky's the limit. And to say where CAP's going to be, I think CAP, Christian Appalachian Project, I truly believe with the programs, the things that they have in place today, don't be surprised if CAP is not around for another 50 or 60 years. I'm going back to my first beginnings with Father Biding. He wanted to have a car show and an ice cream social. And the car show probably had, 20 cars there. It wasn't a big deal. Dip some ice cream. But to hear a dad tell his children that we don't have money to get the ice cream. Father Biding reaches over and says to the fella, "It's on the house today." That's a little thing, but it was a big deal because this guy had 2 of his kids there and he didn't have money for the ice cream social. And then after they walked away, Father Biding says, "No charges, no donations, just keep on scooping." So that's Father Biding. to see what he did that he viewed right away. There were people there viewing cars that might not have money for soda, potato chips, and ice cream. And for him to say, don't worry about it, was huge. Left an impact, because you never know who can't afford something. Therefore, try to be as open-minded as you can and to be flexible and on your toes to adjust to the situation at hand, for the idea of putting a smile on somebody's face, making their eyes gleam with joy. You just never know when you're going to have the impact. And be kind is all I'm going to say. That I thought Father Biting was in all transactions or meetings that I was with him at. He'd get his point across, but he was always kind and gentle. One story I will share, my mother's babysitter. My mom is deceased. I'm going back in the 90s. Her babysitter was still alive in her late 80s. My mom was in her 60s, 70s at the time. When I went up there one day and I was talking to Josie, who is the older lady who babysat my mother years ago in Akron, Ohio. And I was talking to her and she says, well, now tell me, Bob, what are you getting into? What do you do for a hobby? And we're just talking. And I told her one of the things I recently got involved with was Christian Appalachia Project. I'm 350 miles away from East Kentucky. And she says, you mean to tell me you work with Father Biting? I about fell over, and I said, how in the world, Josie, do you know Father Biting? I've been given to him every year from the time he went to East Kentucky. I says, get out of here. She says, no. She says, I try to send $5 a month since he started his program. I said, are you serious? And she said, yes, I just love Father Biting. She said, I read everything I can about him, and I believe in that program. So that's the impact that Father Biting has. And I said, how did you ever hear about this program? And it was a mailer that Christian Appalachia Project, where Father Biting sent out in the early days. She liked it. She was a strong believer in Jesus Christ, and she says, anything I can do to help somebody that's wanting to help others in need, I want to help. So with that said, when I came back home 3 or 4 days later, I went straight to Father Biting and shared this story with him. And he took the time to pick up the phone and call this lady and thank her, but he went one step further. Josie's birthday was coming up. He did a sit-down video in a chair talking about some of his projects, some of his programs, and wishing her a happy birthday. And turned it into a Josie story, and this 10, 15-minute video was all about Josie and all about CAP's programs coming up. But he just made the special effort without asking. Happy birthday, Josie, and thank you for your support, and hope we can meet sometime. So that's the kind of guy Father Biting was. But those are the kind of people that made CAP what it is today. By saying yes to Father Biting to be part of the Christian Appalachia Project team, it's impacted me in such a way that I'm definitely a giver, and it has made me grow in many ways, appreciate every aspect of an individual, every aspect of life. It just impacted to that nothing is forever. And so while we're here, sometimes the only gift we can do is to create a smile for somebody, give them a little bit of hope, and sometimes a second chance. And second chances is what I try to offer up to individuals in need of work, in need of anything. A second chance, I've probably got 5 or 6 working with me now that I view as second chance individuals. And that's That come from Christian Appalachian Project. That come from Father Biding's teachings, and the way he worked. He believed in everybody. Everybody has something good to offer. Everybody has a purpose. Your challenge, my challenge from him, is to find out what that purpose is and try to facilitate them so they can get to that goal of knowing what their purpose is and fulfilling their lives.